Today's topic is pelvic inflammatory diseases. So what we are seeing here is a normal fallopian tube, and here we are seeing a hydrosalpinx or a pyosalpinx, and there is also associated oophorytis and the adhesions. So the moment the cervix, endocervix, endometrial cavity and the mucosal lining of the fallopian tube is involved, it is called as the upper genital tract, and infections of the upper genital tract is called as pelvic inflammatory disease. So pelvic inflammatory disease refers to the acute infection of the upper genital tract which lies above the internal cervical os, and it can be two types, community acquired or it can be iatrogenic. Okay, so here we are seeing the adhesions in the adnexa, and this is a dilated fallopian tube which is a hydrosalpinx. If it is filled with serous fluid, and if it is filled with pus, it will be called as pyosalpinx, and the femoral end has been blocked because of the indrawn fimbriae, and there is also the ovary is adhered to the tubes. Now acute PID is attributed to an ascending spread of microorganisms from vagina and endocervix. So these terms like pelvic inflammatory disease and acute salpingitis is often used interchangeably because fallopian tube is a commonest site of affection. But pelvic inflammatory disease is not limited to tubal infection only. Salpingitis is affection of the fallopian tube, whereas in pelvic inflammatory disease we can involve endometrium or oophorytis or pelvic peritoneum can be. So more descriptive terminology is upper genital tract infection, and it can be differentiated from lower genital tract infection because response to treatment is different in the upper genital tract and lower genital tract infection. So upper genital tract infection, the terminology used interchangeably is the pelvic inflammatory disease. Now the common organisms for upper genital tract is a Neisseria gonorrhoeae and chlamydia with the serovariants from D to K, and it is Neisseria is in 1/3 cases, chlamydia is in 1/3 cases, and remaining 1/3 there is both Neisseria and chlamydia. So polymicrobial infection is very common, and sometimes these PID can be iatrogenic. This can happen after procedures which break the cervical mucous barriers like DNC, cervical dilatation, and the etiological role of chlamydia trachomatis is very different from gonococcus gonorrhoeae that we will discuss now. So whenever there is a discharge coming through the cervix, we can think that it can be chlamydia or gonorrhea, and the upper genital tract has been inflamed. So Neisseria gonorrhoeae is a gram-negative intracellular diplococci, and it has got a rapid cycle, 20 to 40 minutes to divide, and it is a rapid and intense inflammatory response with less complication, and treatment is usually given early, whereas Chlamydia trachomatis is a slow-growing intracellular obligate organism, and it does not have mitochondria. Its growth cycle is very slow, and it does not induce a rapid or violent inflammatory response, and it destroys the host cell by rupturing it, and the treatment usually takes time. So this is a slide showing the intracellular. This is a cell, a host cell, in which we are seeing that two always occur together, and they are cocci, round in shape. So we call them as diplococci, two together, and they are gram-negative, and they are always inside the cell, and they have got a rapid replication time. Now this is how the two cocci will adhere to each other, and this is again the gram staining smear which is showing the diplococci or the two cocci which are together, and they are associated with the poly-WBCs, host WBCs. Now this is the mucopurulent discharge of the chlamydia, which is typically mucopus, and chlamydia can cause other kinds of symptoms like conjunctivitis, chlamydial conjunctivitis, chlamydial balanitis, and chlamydial cervicitis. Now this is the mucopurulent cervicitis of chlamydia, which is inflamed and pus discharging, and this is the fluorescent antibody testing used to detect the chlamydia in the cervical secretions. Now very rarely there can be other organisms other than gonococcus and chlamydia, and they include the E. coli, group B streptococci and staph, and other anaerobic organisms can include Bacteroides like Fragilis, Bevis, Peptostreptococcus and Peptococcus. So initially the tissue damage provides a fertile ground for growth of secondarily infective aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, and this necrotic tissue of PID is a very excellent growth medium for this aerobic and anaerobic microorganisms, and the epithelial damage enhances the breakthrough of the surface defense mechanism. The classification of pelvic inflammatory disease can also be done like after sexually transmitted infection, that is post STI, after abortion, post abortal PID, after delivery, postpartum PID, post instrumentation after DNC procedures, post intrauterine devices like copper T, or it can be a secondary pelvic inflammatory disease, secondary to a abdominal or peritonitis. Now, risk factors for pelvic inflammatory disease include the sexually transmitted infection, sexually active adolescent or teenagers, contraceptives, so like copper T will increase the risk, whereas condoms will decrease the risk. Ossipils also decrease the risk of PID, and previous tubal ligation also decreases the risk of PID. Instrumentation like induced abortions and empty pills increase the risk of pelvic inflammatory disease, and treating the partner is also helpful in reducing the risk.